Summary of the Ghost Map by Stephen Johnson. London was the biggest city in Europe and one of the dirtiest towns in the world in the 1850s. At a time when most people lived in country areas, millions of people lived within a few miles of each other in London, but the city didn't have a way to clean up the garbage and waste of that many people. Waste often got stuck in the drains, and night soil men made a lot of money by cleaning up the waste at night and dumping it on the outskirts of the city. In 1854, a child got very sick. The child's mother, Sarah Lewis, put the baby's dirty diapers in a sewer in her basement. Soon after that, cholera spread through the Soho area of London. In just a few days, dozens of people got really sick. Cholera is a bacterial disease that spreads through water. It has been around for thousands of years, but it hasn't been a big killer until the modern, urban age. In the past, most towns weren't close enough together for the disease to spread easily. When cholera gets into a person, it goes to the small intestine and causes diarrhea, vomiting, and dehydration. Clean water and salts are the easiest things to use to treat cholera. But in places like Victorian London that didn't have access to clean water, cholera was a big problem. A priest named Henry Whitehead lived near Soho during the epidemic of 1854. Whitehead knew almost all of the families in the area, so he went from house to talk to the families of people who had died from cholera. A young doctor named John Snow was another important person in the 1854 epidemic. Snow had already made a name for himself as a pioneering anesthesiologist, but after cholera broke out in 1848, he became interested in how it spreads. At the time, there were two main ideas about how cholera spread: the contagion theory, which said that cholera victims passed some kind of agent to each other, and the miasma theory, which said that bad smells coming from certain places caused cholera, especially in people with certain internal constitutions. Snow had gathered information that supported his theory of contagion, and he thought that the 1854 outbreak could help his case even more. Snow's problem was that most doctors in the mid-1800s were set on the miasma theory. Edwin Chadwick, who started the powerful General Board of Health in London, was a firm believer in the idea. Miasma theory played on people's natural tendency to link sickness with bad smells, and it may have appealed to class biases in Victorian society, such as the idea that poor people deserved to get sick. Chadwick believed in the miasma theory and was blind to the truth about how diseases spread. Because of this, he suggested unclogging the sewer system, which added millions of pounds of filth to the River Thames and almost certainly led to outbreaks in the 1850s. As the cholera epidemic of 1854 went on, Snow and Whitehead went to dozens of homes in Soho and talked to the people who lived there to learn more about the disease. Snow started to see the truth. The sickness was spread by the Broad Street water pump, which was the main source of clean water for most people in the town. Snow was more sure of his idea after he talked to William Farr, a well-known demographer who was gathering information about recent cholera outbreaks. Snow also used the data to argue against the famous miasma theory. For example, if bad smells spread diseases, why were some buildings in the Soho neighborhood almost totally free of cholera? Snow spoke at an emergency meeting of St. James's Parish's Board of Governors and asked them to take the pump handle off the Broad Street well. Even though they didn't want to, the board decided to do it. Even though the outbreak was already getting better, Snow's efforts may have stopped it from getting worse. A few months later, Sir Benjamin Hall, the head of the General Board of Health, made an announcement about a group that would look into what caused the outbreak. Hall was a firm believer in the miasma theory, so his research looked at the wrong things and didn't lead to many strong findings. Around the same time, Henry Whitehead was hired by the St. James Vestry to lead a group that would look into what caused the disease. Whitehead had disagreed with Snow's idea that the pump handle should be taken off. He talked to local families and found out that many people who had gotten over cholera said that drinking water from the Broad Street well helped them. But as Whitehead looked into things, he started to see things from Snow's point of view. He learned that the Lewis family had put dirty diapers in a sewer, which had gotten into the well and probably caused cholera to spread in the area. Around the same time, John Snow added to his idea that cholera spread through water. He found out that two people from Soho had sent their mother a glass of water from the Broad Street pump. When they found out that their mother had died of cholera, they were shocked. He also found that people who lived in Soho but didn't drink from the pump didn't get cholera. Whitehead became one of the most vocal supporters of Snow. But miasma theory continued to be the most popular idea in medicine. Snow and Whitehead's study of the cholera outbreak of 1854 was a turning point in the history of cities. It was probably one of the first times that a group of city officials got together to make a choice about public health based on good science and research. Snow's research set a strong example for the role of medicine in urban planning. In fact, in the years after the outbreak, Snow's theory that diseases spread through water became more and more accepted, to the point where all European and American cities built their sewer systems based on the idea that diseases were contagious and spread through water. Even though Snow died young and long before his ideas were accepted by everyone, his work may have made it possible for towns to grow because they were no longer centers of sickness and filth. In the epilogue, Johnson talks about how cities will change in the future. In the last 150 years, more and more people have moved to cities, and this trend seems likely to continue. Epidemics and terrorist strikes are two things that could slow the growth of towns if nothing is done to stop it. In towns, diseases spread at a very fast rate, which is why so many people died from cholera in London in 1854. And since so many people live so close to each other, towns are like bullseyes for attackers. People will have to use their creativity and hard work to solve these problems if they want to keep living in cities. They would do well to learn from Henry Whitehead and John Snow.
About the author. Stephen Berlin Johnson was born and raised in Washington, D.C., and he went to Brown University to study semiotics. Later, he went to Columbia University in the city of New York and got his master's degree in English writing. Johnson stayed in New York after he got his degree and started working as an independent writer for the New York Times and other papers and magazines. In 1997, he wrote Interface Cultures: How New Technology Changes the Way We Make Things and Talk to Each Other. Since then, he's written 9 more books on popular science topics like digital technology, city planning, and the finding of air. Everything Bad is Good for You, which came out in 2005, was one of his most popular books. In it, he made the controversial claim that computer games, reality TV, and other forms of low culture were actually making people smarter. Johnson and his wife and their kids live in New York City.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.